Today we are going to talk about multiplying radicals. You might want to take out a piece of loose leaf paper so that you can take notes while we go through this. So to multiply radicals, what you're going to do is multiply the terms in front of the radical signs. If nothing is in front of the sign, it's really a 1. Then you're going to multiply the terms inside or under the radical sign, and then you're going to simplify the radical. When you're distributing, you do the same thing, but you multiply each term in the parentheses by the term in front. And if you're multiplying two binomials, you're either going to double distribute or use the box method. So if we look at the first example, it says 2 radical 3 times 4 radical 12. First thing we're going to do is multiply. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 12 is 36. Now we're going to see if we can simplify it. When I see radical 36, I think, oh, that's a perfect square. It's 6. 8 times 6 is 48. And that's your answer. If I look at the second example here, again, I'm going to multiply the numbers in front. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Then I'm going to multiply the radicals. 5 times 10 is 50. Now 50 I know is not a perfect square, so I'm going to break it down. Two numbers that multiply to 50, one of them should be a perfect square, is 25 times 2. The square root of 25 is 5. Negative 8 times 5 is negative 40, and I still have a 2 under my radical. That's my answer. The next example, 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 12 is 48. Now I'm going to break down my 48. Two numbers that give me 48, one of them should be a perfect square. I'm going to go with 16 times 3. The square root of 16 is 4. 15 times 4 is 60, and I'm left with a radical 3. Quick hint or tip, when you simplify, do not pick an 8 or a 12 as one of your factors, because an 8 will always have to be broken down again. So if you're left with a radical 8, you got to break that down to 4 times 2, which becomes 2 radical 2. And if you're left with a 12, you have to break that one down to 4 times 3, which becomes 2 radical 3. So if you can, when you're picking factors, please try not to pick an 8 or a 12, because they will have to be broken down further. Now, if we look at this one, we're distributing. So the first thing, I'm going to put a 1 in front of my 3 so I don't mess up. Now, when I multiply this first term times this term, and again, I would put a 1 here. 1 times 1 is 1. Then 3 times 27 is 81. When I go to the second term, because I'm distributing, 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I look to simplify. The square root of 81 is 9, so this becomes 9. The square root of 9 is 3, so that becomes 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. If I look at the next example, if I multiply this term times this term, negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. 5 times 10 is 50. If I go to the second term, negative 2 times 2 is 4. And 5 times 15 is 75. Now I know I can break down a 50, so this becomes negative 6. 50 breaks down to 25 times 2. You could use 5 and 10, but you'd have to break them down further. Try to pick a perfect square when you're doing this. The square root of 25 is 5, so this is negative 30. radical 2. And if I look at the second one, numbers for 75, again, I always think money. So 25 times 3, because it's quarters, like change. And here, the square root of 25 also is 5, so this becomes minus 20 radical 3. I would love to subtract these or combine them. However, this is a radical 2, and this is a radical 3. You cannot combine them, so this becomes my answer. Now, sometimes you'll see where you have 2 terms times 2 terms. So I would go with the box method. And we're going to write one of them across the top and one of them going down the side. Again, you can do double distribute if you want. Now, if I look in this first box here, 3 times 2 is 6. Radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So this box really becomes a value of 12 because 6 times 2 is 12. If I look at this box over here, negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And I just have to rewrite the radical 2. If I look at this box here, 2 times 4 is 8. And I just rewrite the radical 2. And if I look at the last box here, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And then if I look, this is a whole number, and this is a whole number. So 12 minus 12 is 0. And then if I look here, this is a radical 2, and this is a radical 2. So negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1 radical 2. Or you can just write this as negative radical 2. Either one is correct. And the last one, so that we feel super smart, this little 2 up in the corner here, this little 2, I hope that you realize that that means write that term twice. It means squared. I'm going to cross it out. So now again, I'm multiplying 2 terms by 2 terms, so I highly recommend the box method. So now I have 2 radical 5 plus 2. And I have 2 radical 5 plus 2. If I look at the first box, the whole numbers, 2 times 2 is 4. The radicals, 5 times 5 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. So this box has a value of 20. If I look at this box here, 2 times 2 is 4. And I rewrite the radical 5. If I look at this box here, 2 times 2 is 4, and I rewrite the radical 5. And if I look at the last box, 2 times 2 is 4. Once again, this is a whole number, and this is a whole number. 20 plus 4 is 24. If I look here, this is a radical 5, and this is a radical 5. So 4 radical 5 plus 4 radical 5 is 8 radical 5. I cannot add the 24 and the 8 radical 5 because they are not like terms. If you have any questions, please write them down and either email me or ask me next time you see me.